Welcome to Lecture 1.1, Unit 1, Lecture 1, and Introduction to Global Systems. In this lecture, the learning objectives are: explain why ecology is important, describe the methods used to study ecology, explain how biotic and abiotic factors influence an ecosystem, explain how we can understand global systems and the changes they undergo. Ecology. Ecology is just the scientific study of interactions among organisms and between organisms and their physical environment. It's very technical. Basically, all it means is that ecology is the study of the natural world, okay? And it's talking about the living things, you, me, your pets, if you have any birds, squirrels, grass, okay? And then also our physical environment, so the air, the water, the soil, that kind of stuff, okay? And ecology is just studying that on different levels, depending on exactly what you're looking at. But we can study it on the level of your front yard, okay, or the patch of grass in the middle of your apartment complex or whatever, or we can look at it at the whole world, all right? So, and everything in between. These are the different categories of what we call the hierarchy, leading from smallest to largest when we look at ecology. So like I said, when it comes to an ecology, we can look at it at a very small level, or we can look at it at a very large level. So the smallest that ecology or ecologists look at is the species. So species sometimes means one individual organism, sometimes means one family grouping. Species is just one type of organism, which then can lead us into a population, which is the same group of organisms in the same area. So we could talk about squirrels in Washington Lake Park. Gray squirrels in Washington Lake Park is a population. So the population then leads us to a community. And what looks different in this picture? Here we go from one organism, one type of organism. I think that's a wildebeest. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's a wildebeest. So now to where we have wildebeest and zebras and grass and all sorts of other stuff. So a community is all of the different organisms. So if the population was squirrels in Washington Lake Park, the community is squirrels and birds and grass in Washington Lake Park. Then the community, squirrels, birds, grass, okay, which is all of the biotic factors, and we'll get to that word in just a second, okay? So squirrels, birds, grass, all biotic factors, all right, leads us to an ecosystem, which is the biotic plus the abiotic. And when I say abiotic, okay, I mean rocks, air, water, all right? Biotic is anything that is living or was living, okay? Whereas abiotic is things that were never living, all right? Your computer, okay? Your computer, your cell phone, never living. Abiotic factors, you, person, biotic factor. Okay, so an ecosystem is actually looking at the interactions both of the biotic factors, so the zebras, the wildebeest, the grass, but then the zebras, the wildebeest, and the grass with the water that they drink or the air that they breathe, those kinds of things. And then ecosystem takes us up to the biome. And you may remember some of these from middle school. Or even maybe elementary school, I don't know. The tundra, the desert, the rainforest, those are all biomes. So biomes are basically just looking at large areas of ecosystems. So you can see here, all right, it's looking at this whole area of Africa, okay? All right, which incorporates many different cities, many different countries. This is all a biome, all right? And then biomes ultimately come together to make up the biosphere. So if bio means life, all right, bio means life, and then sphere basically just means the earth. So everywhere on Earth that you see life, okay, and that's the biosphere, which is basically almost everywhere in the world. And it even includes some of the atmosphere, so where the air is, where some birds, where birds can fly and stuff like that, and then into some of the dirt where organisms burrow, like, trying to think. And bugs, okay, all of that stuff. All right. In order to capture ecological data, all right, when we're talking about data, remember we're talking about information that we use to study the world. Okay, when we look at ecological data, okay, we can use observation, which is basically just, hey, look, there are squirrels in Washington Lake Park. I have observed them. All right, and you can observe their behaviors and all sorts of other stuff. Experimentation, which is more of what you see in this picture here, all right, where you actually set up something and watch it. Okay, ecological data, there's a lot of watching. You set up an experiment and then you watch and see what happens. So in this case, she looks like she's setting up plants and seeing what happens with these plants inside this enclosed, maybe manipulating what kind of air the plant is getting, because you see this tube here. Okay. All right, manipulating what kind of moisture's in there. Who knows? All right, but she's created this little space that she's studying these plants in. And then ecology and a lot of sciences, we can actually use modeling, which is where we design computer programs and we run simulations. We can do that. We can use smaller, so modeling, we can use mice. You'll see a lot of times, especially where they do experiments in mice to model what might happen in a human. Okay, so that's a combination of experimenting and modeling. So different things. Okay, so remember I said we get back to the abiotic and biotic factors. So the ecosystem is made up of both, all right, whereas the biotic factors are all living things. So we have a duck, we have a heron of a type, we've got the trees, we've got the grass, okay? And then the abiotic factors, where we have the clouds, the air, all right, rocks, water, rocks underwater, soil, which are basically just very small broken down rocks. Okay, so the abiotic factors are not living and never have been living. Okay, biotic factors are things that are alive or maybe once alive. So decomposing bodies is also part of the biotic factors. Scientists have broken the Earth down into 4 systems. And you've probably heard a lot of these words before. I know you've heard 2 of them, at least from me already. Okay? And what happens is these 4 systems are interacting. And those 4 systems are what actually builds the entire world. Okay? So we've got the biosphere, which we've talked about. Life sphere, so all the life. We have the atmosphere, which you've heard of, and I also mentioned the atmosphere, which is the air. Okay, and then we have the hydrosphere. Okay, hydro means water. All right, so that's just all the water. And then the geosphere, okay, is the soil, the rocks, earth. Geo means earth. All right, and so over the course of time, or over the course of any sort of interaction, all of these 4 systems are interacting on a daily basis. Right now, take a deep breath. You personally have now just interacted with, I would say, 2.5 systems. 1, the biosphere, because you're a living thing. 2, the atmosphere, because you breathed in. air, and you breathed out. And I say a half because the hydrosphere, you also have water exchange, okay, water vapor. If you think about breathing fog, if you breathe onto a mirror or a glass, if you do that, you little water droplets, okay? So you taking a breath involves 2.5 of these spheres. All right, so anytime you breathe, you are involved in these 4 things interacting together. Okay, all right. So the atmosphere, remember, is the air. The biosphere is life. Okay, I'll put that air, life. Hydrosphere is water, and then last but not least, the geosphere, which is the earth part, the actual physical earth. So rocks, soil, volcanoes, that's all part of the geosphere. Okay, and putting all of these systems together and looking at how they interact is how we actually understand more and more about about the earth, about the global systems, about global climate change, and all of those things. And so what we're going to be looking at for a big portion of the beginning of the year is these 4 systems and their interactions with each other. All right, so I look forward to it. Have a great day. Bye.